with baggage and children. Door number 2, you got mutton stew.
Door number 3 is Adam the gardener just sort of pushing dirt around with the shovel.
And his nephew is just waving behind him.
Yeah.
We are 6 episodes into And Just Like Yap. I'm Caroline.
I am Andi.
And we are here for this week's episode, Silent Mode. So let's just hop into it. I don't know if anyone else felt bamboozled by the clip of Carrie and Aidan at the top. They've repurposed this into an ad for the rebranding of HBO Max.
Correct.
Same app, newish name this summer, which, you know, I guess it's kind of like the rebrand of Carrie and Aidan. But we are brought to in voiceover with Carrie and her never-ending exposition in this novel. She's dining with Duncan, and we've been trolled very quickly, because what are they eating, Andi?
Stew! They're eating stew! They are eating stew, and yeah, it did feel like we were being trolled, because I was like, immediate stew.
I will say, in their defense, it was raining, and rain is stew weather, and I feel like they justified that, to justify the bean.
Oh my god. We're coming in hot today.
Carrie doesn't feel like a stew person. She says as much, accordingly.
I was like, where is this man getting mutton in Manhattan? And then I was like, mutton in Manhattan. Mutton in Manhattan.
You know, you can find a lot of things on the island of Manhattan, and I guess mutton is one of them. Can't find a man, but you can find mutton. Duncan starts talking about how he's banging Margaret Thatcher every night downstairs in the basement with no windows, no sunlight, and asks Carrie if she will read his pages. Ooh, and then Carrie says, I'll read your chapter if you read mine.
We knew this was coming, but I am delighted nonetheless.
Yeah, it was the banter was just, like, very hot. I like how this is developed. We're now dining downstairs. Carrie's coming into Duncan's world. It feels like we should be excited about the things that are happening, which is why even Duncan is titillated by it. You could tell by this little glance. Mr. Darcy downstairs he's feeling in some Carrie.
Carrie's energy with him is so much better than it is with Aidan.
It is. It's so, I feel like Carrie's lighter. She's having fun. Much like Samantha says, you know, when she talks about in season 4, episode 18, because I was just watching I Heart NY, about how, you know,
oh, that's a great episode.
It's top 3. But Samantha's saying, you know, having sex with an ex, if it's bad, you just had sex with an ex. And that's kind of like her going back to Aidan. It's like, yeah, you're coming over the same patterns, which we'll get into later, but it's nice to see her with a new crush and someone fun and flirty.
Yeah, and she hasn't even really acknowledged that it's a crush yet, but it's very obvious to the viewer.
We're having a great time with it. And then we cut to Carrie's on the phone, and we're like, who is she on the phone with? Talking about Duncan serving the worst meal, which we knew she hated the mutton. Unfortunately, everyone, it's not Miranda. It's not Charlotte. It's not even LTW. It's Aidan.
Fucking Aidan. I thought we were done with him. Well, we knew in the preview he was going to come back for this episode. After this episode, it seems like we're going to get another one.
Our patience is really being tested in this, and I gotta say, we deserve some kind of reward at the end of the season for putting up with this much Aidan. It's just
100%.
It's too much, and like we predicted last week, Aidan made the comment about Duncan that we said that we call him Dunkin' Donuts.
You literally last time were like, this is the most obvious joke. He will make this joke, and then he does it right away. Between that and the stew, you texted me, you're like, I'm being trolled.
He's Captain Obvious for where it comes to his reference levels. Brushing his teeth. Like, he doesn't have an electric toothbrush. Of course he doesn't, because he doesn't believe in electricity.
The Target is an hour away. He does not have a Philips Sonicare.
No, he can't get the refills. Tells Carrie that he will be coming up because Wyatt is doing a wilderness program in Wyoming. Talking about another tongue twister. Wyatt's doing a wilderness program in Wyoming for a week.
I know. I had the same thought. I was like, mutton in Manhattan, and then I was like, Wyatt's doing a wilderness program in Wyoming for a week. To sit in solemn silence in the middle of the woods with an ADHD child who's not medicated good.
ADHD, 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 ADHD.
Quiet.
But allegedly, Aidan says that Wyatt has decided to do this on his own accord. Now, what do you think? Do you think Wyatt chose this on his own accord?
When I hear wilderness program for teens in the woods, the first thing that comes to my mind is like episode of Dr. Phil where they take a bunch of like misbehaving teenagers, force them against their will to be abused in the woods, which, because it turns out a lot of those programs are really bad. Whoa. That's off topic. I doubt this was his idea. My first thought originally was like, oh, he's scamming them. Like, he's gonna take off and go somewhere else for the week. Like, he's not actually gonna go.
He's pretending it's Wyatt's idea, but Aidan is gonna give him, like, a switch in exchange for him going to the wilderness for a week. Like, there's some scam that they're, like, figuring it out between the two of them. They cut a deal. Yeah. Because Aidan's got to see his girl. And then also seeing the speed stick above the sink, it took us back to a very specific moment in season 4 when Aidan has decided to redo Carrie's apartment and she finds 7 empty tubes of speed stick and stumbles upon the Rogaine.
This really felt like they must have put the speed stick in the shot intentionally. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, you can put on the Rogaine and rub on the speed stick.
And now we're with Miranda, Joy, and Joy's 2 sons, Sappho and Socrates, waking Miranda.
Sappho and Socrates.
Sorry, Sappho.
I assume Sappho is female because she's named after a female poet named Sappho from the Isle of Lesbos.
You know what, Andy? You're probably right on the money.
I know I'm right on the money because my college theater experience involved doing a play that was just Sappho's poetry. And it also had some elements of Indian Sanskrit drama that, looking back, were very offensive because we were all white. So
we all have our story. Mine was doing Aida in high school.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat through a white high school Aida. It's not a great time.
I didn't know that we had a Sappho scholar amongst us. Good news, Seema may have found Miranda an apartment because Joy was ready to kick her out after 3 days, and Miranda said she doesn't want to be a lesbian cliche and move in after hello, which I thought was very fun, and tells Joy she wants her to meet Brady. Joy jumps back a little bit at the thought of meeting Miranda's son, and we come back, and we're sort of left there. As we then cut to Charlotte, looking gorgeous. This reminds me of her Elizabeth Taylor outfit when she goes to Brady's birthday with the sunglasses. Yeah. Like, very much like, this is how Charlotte puts her armor on and is ready to, like, attack the world when it's not on her side.
Absolutely. She, like, leans into the look of, like, an iconic woman who has been through adversity.
And Charlotte's approaching the hospital, ready to go in for Harry's appointment, when we are met with a familiar face. One Bitsy Mon Mufflane, asking if she knows someone there with the big C.
Classic Bitsy. I really am shocked about what a meal we are making of Bitsy on it, just like that.
Charlotte tells Bitsy that she's there to volunteer. She completely lies about Harry, and changes the subject to tell Bitsy, I'll see you next week at tea time at Tiffany's, which Bitsy doesn't know anything about tea time at Tiffany's.
Sure doesn't.
And Charlotte is caught fully off guard, and we are brought to Seema mournfully looking out the window while she listens to Touch Me in the Morning by Diana Ross with one AirPod in, as she's having her swan song and her final ride with her driver, who I also thought was about to be our 4th hot man for a second, but we never really got to see Rocco. I was like,
not really.
We just saw, like, his sunglasses, but tells him to keep her vanity plates to remember her by, because she's now one of us. She's one of us people taking public transit.
The fact that she always had a driver was, like, really pretty extravagant. I thought this was really funny. I thought they handled this in a really entertaining way.
And we are taken to the showing she has for Miranda of the unicorn apartment that she has found for her. Miranda loves it, but she tells her if she wants it, they want $150,000 over asking, which of course is against every principle Miranda has. Because, as we know, Miranda's got her principles, and she doesn't want to give people more than they deserve for something like this.
I also just, whenever scenes like this happen and just like that, I'm like, man, everybody in this show has so much money.
I know. And we are now taken to, after the appointment, we see Harry and Charlotte on the street. We found out we've gotten very good news for Harry's prostate cancer, that either he can go under surgery or go under radiation. They're telling him it's like mostly curable. But unfortunately, the two side effects are possible bowel syndrome or erectile dysfunction, which Harry is nonplussed about either.
Getting older sucks, being sick sucks, and being told that the two possible outcomes of this, like, you're probably not gonna die, love that, but you might shit your pants or not be able to get hard, like, not great.
Yeah, but there's a sweet little moment of them on the street together, and he says, "I love you, Pollyanna," which I don't know that have we heard him call Charlotte that before?
No, but I think it's just like a nod to how she's like looking on the bright side all the time for him and like trying to stay positive. I will say though that him sort of expecting that from her and needing that from her while also telling her that she's not allowed to share this with anybody is uncharacteristically selfish for Harry. Like, I understand it because he's going through something hard, but like, if you're gonna expect somebody to like be your constant cheerleader and then not allow them to have an outlet to like share their grief with somebody, like that's not sustainable. This show is doing some weird things in that this is not even the darkest part of this episode, as we will get to. That it's like, in the case of Harry and Charlotte, it's like they know that it would ruin everyone's life if Harry died. They're like throwing cancer at us, but like, it's not like that big a deal though. But it is still cancer, but it's not that big a deal. And it's like, I don't know how you want me to feel about this. Like, am I upset or am I not?
Right, it's like cancer with a lowercase c. It's fine.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not the big C.
So then we are taken to America's next sexual harassment lawsuit waiting to happen. Hot fellas. I don't know. Anthony, like, what do you expect people that you are marketing your husband, partner, whatever he is, like, with that specific uniform? People are going to stare at it. That's how you're getting people in the door. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that Giuseppe coming back to work for him meant that he's coming back to work for him as, like, a full-time customer service employee. Like, I thought he was just there that one day.
And the girls are at lunch, and again, LTW, not at lunch. I just would like to...
She doesn't eat lunch. She doesn't eat lunch.
Because she's always working on her documentary. She's not allowed out until there is a cut of her documentary. But
she is never at lunch. You are correct about that.
Yeah, Seema has come to the table with another unicorn of a condo, 2-bedroom. There's no HOA board and no pets. Charlotte gets a phone call from Harry in the middle of all of this that she tries to brush off as everything's fine, and I think Carrie's sort of starting to clock that something's off.
Something's up, yeah.
Of course, Carrie then has to make it about herself when we find out that Miranda's introducing Brady to Joy. When are you introducing her to me?
I know. It's like she said her son, Carrie. Like, chill out. One of my least favorite Carrie things, and she'll do this later in the episode, is like, she clearly wants to say, like, it's also important to me that I meet her as well, but instead she does this, like, weird little, I'm so adorable, like, underhanded dig, and I hate when she does that.
I know, and especially, like, with the braid and everything. It just all feels very put on a bit. I'm like, all right, come on, Carrie, let Miranda have this moment. It's not about you for once.
Yeah.
For once. It's not about
you. For
once! And we come back to the issue about the dogs because Miranda is worried, well, if there's no dogs, Joy's not going to come over. And we start to see how important Joy is becoming to Miranda, which we love. I love the development of this.
I will say this, Miranda has been a lesbian for like less than 2 years.
I know.
Where did she get this Paula Poundstone ass suit so fast?
Maybe that was like part of, like, when she became a lesbian, she got a whole wardrobe that came with it.
Yeah, it does seem like this episode especially was like the first episode that I was like, Miranda is really dressing for her sexuality now.
You're not dressing for the male gaze.
No, you are not.
And I would love to stop.
I have stopped. I stopped a long time ago.
Stop dressing for my gaze.
I just put clothes on.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get from me.
Seema tells her, well, there's no other options. It's this apartment or the other one, and that's it. And I also would like to point out in the background now, we finally see one Hot Fellas employee that's not in the romper. They're getting to wear jorts, and they're not over-sexualized. Why can't Giuseppe be dressed like this?
I don't know why this guy's allowed to wear jorts. Maybe this was wrong. Maybe he's out of uniform for the day and he's going to get spanked. I don't know. I have to assume that's how that's how Anthony reprimands people.
Oh, yeah. He's got to knead their dough.
Well, I just did an actual spit take, so that's first.
We are now in the dungeon, the documentary dungeon with Marion.
Looking hot.
Looking very hot. LTW is getting lots of phone calls from Chauncey, Herbert's campaign manager, and she does the thing she never does. She puts her phone on silent so she can actually focus. And Marion tells us, there's a lot of people I'd want to put on silent mode, but you're not one of them, which makes us lead into what's happening here. Is the work crush getting blurred?
It kind of seems like it is. You don't just say that to people. You could just say there's a lot of people I'd want to put on silent mode. The end. Jim popped in while I was watching this, and he was like, as someone who's an editor, I just want to say you don't have to be that ripped to work in Adobe Premiere Pro. And I was like, I don't know. I think you do.
I think maybe, I don't know, that should be one of the requirements. And unfortunately, Aidan's back.
Yeah, there is.
Like, the one rock that's in between his two ears, he sees one rock on the ground and decides, you know what would be really cute? Let me throw a rock at my girlfriend's old vintage window. And
yes.
As this goes as well as we expect it to go, he throws one, nothing happens. Second one, we have a huge shattered window pane,
causing Carrie to shriek.
I thought of you immediately when the shriek happened. I was like, one of Andy's top 3 least favorite sounds.
I know. It's like nails on a chalkboard and Sarah Jessica Parker screaming. Mm-hmm. He was trying to be cute because, like, Carrie threw rocks at his windows when she was trying to get back together with him. This immediately makes this whole interaction become very uncomfortable.
Yeah, deeply icky. Yeah, because he says, it's our thing. This is why I wanted to throw it at you. And then notices Carrie's not wearing shoes, as there are shards of glass everywhere. Walking on broken glass. Literally, there is shards.
I will say this, though. To come to somebody's home somewhat unannounced and then ask them why they're not wearing shoes is a little bit ridiculous. Once the glass was broken and he was on his way inside, put on a pair of Crocs or something, Carrie. I mean, I'm sure she doesn't have Crocs in her home, but
No, she told us she would never not wear heels.
What's wild, though, is that she immediately goes from, I cannot stop wearing heels, I will not take my heels off, I don't even know how to walk without heels, to fully barefoot. Like, something's definitely going on with Duncan, because that is a big shift.
She's like living her bohemian lifestyle, no shoes on, and Aidan said, I'm gonna fix the glass, but she of course is like, but the glass is so old. I want that glass. That's the only glass I want.
Oh my god. This was like peak toxic Carrie, where she is like, no, I mean, it's fine. It's just that a rainbow comes in when the light shines through the glass a certain way, but you can't get it, but it's okay. Like, oh,
it survived the riots. It survived the draft.
Hurricane Sandy.
It survived Hamilton.
It survived Hamilton. I don't know. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it's Sarah SJP's performance, but these are the moments of Carrie that I truly can't stand.
Is she playing her in the way that she's doing this to get Aidan to break up with her so she doesn't have to break up with him.
Maybe even subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah, just like, you know, she's realizing like how Aidan doesn't fit and he's not a part of her life, and he just comes in like a bull in a china shop, you know.
Literally, yeah.
Like breaking things. Why not show up with flowers? I don't know, like, and something, like, some sort of gesture instead of now you've created work in this home that has no furniture, no rugs still, like, this barren tomb of a home. And he's now on a mission. Aidan loves a project, and he's gonna find her. Old glass.
I just was like, something's weird. Like, he's taking this way too seriously. Like, this seems like to be so much bigger of a deal than it should be. So, like, something's off.
Yeah, something's, like, simmering under the surface that we don't know about yet, but right now he's taking this all so personally that he broke the glass and Carrie's home. And we find out Wyatt wouldn't get on the airplane, which, to the surprise of none of us, because Wyatt...
Nobody at all.
Wyatt doesn't want to be outdoors. Let him with his screams. Like, I don't understand. At this point, his brain is mostly fully formed. Let him have his screen, because, like, you're damaging him more than the screen. Back in the booth with this giant stamp of Edmonia Lewis, and, you know, she's so thrilled. Marion is, like, inside her head. The two are vibing.
They are.
We think, like, we're just going to have more chemistry that's happening. And we find out, big nugget, that Marion is married. So Marion is not single.
That surprised me because he had not brought it up, but he says that he wants to keep his work and his personal life separate. But once again, you didn't have to say that.
Didn't need to offer that information, but, you know, there we are. And Herbert comes in, and we're about to get a massive tonal shift.
Yes.
And at first, LTW is caught off guard because she wants to tell him, because we've had the conversation about Mary in the episode before, that he's married, clarifying that he's married. Herbert has nothing to worry about, but that's the last thing on Herbert's mind, as he tells LTW her dad had a stroke. And this is where I thought, before we get the next line of dialogue, I was like, oh, this is how everyone's going to find out that Harry's sick. That, in my head, I thought LTW's going to go to the hospital to see her dad. He's going to see Charlotte there, and that's, like, the natural resolve of that plot line, and then everyone kind of knows. But instead, he died.
This shocked me. All the previous episodes were like, God, get off this documentary. Let's get LTW a different plot line, like something more interesting. And then Marion comes in and you're like, oh, it's going to be that she has a crush on Marion. How is that going to play with like her and Herbert and whatever? And then they throw this at us and I was like, where did this even come from?
I'll say, as someone who's lost their parents and stuff like that, when this sort of plot line comes up, where it's not earned, it comes out of nowhere, it always feels emotionally manipulative. Okay, you just want us to feel sad, and this wasn't earned. This wasn't necessarily, like you said, anything we were expecting in the plot. I think as someone who, like, has, like, had that grief, it just felt like such a tug for no reason, and I think that was, like, a bummer for them to sort of introduce this in that way.
Yeah, the only thing that I can assume here is that they're gonna use this to sort of, like, spur Lisa into feeling, like, motivated to like change something. It feels like they can't figure out what to do with this character, so they just keep trying things, because like she also had the miscarriage last season that like was kind of a one and done episode, and I'm like, just get one interesting thing going, please.
We are taken to LTW's closet, which I don't know that I've laid eyes on LTW's closet, and it looks like the IKEA storage cabinets all in a line. It's like, I thought this was like more glamorous. Instead, it looks like a bunch of lockers.
It does. I do appreciate though that she has like her desk and her office in her closet. I like that. I like that detail.
That's a very fun detail. And she calls Charlotte to let her know that her dad passed. Very like emotional exchange between the two of them. And then we find out she's been invited to her father's funeral from a Lucille Highwater by email.
And we have not met Lucille.
We know nothing about Lucille Highwater, but as someone who had to, like, plan a funeral, to find out that someone else has planned this without any sort of input from you. I could not imagine. I would be losing my mind. Like, honestly, she's more even-keeled later in the episode about this than I would have been.
That's shocking. Like, the day that your father passes away to then receive this.
We get a nugget of information that she is a failed actress turned general manager of her father's theater in Newark, New Jersey.
Correct, yes.
Where everyone goes for theater. And somehow Aidan has entered the French door corner of the internet that allegedly lives in Scranton, Pennsylvania. You can find...
What site is this that aggregates old doors for sale?
Well, Andi, it's olddoorsforsale.com. Carrie rightfully says, honey, we're not trucking to Pennsylvania tomorrow. That's like not on Carrie's plans. She's going to tea times at Tiffany's, but Aidan is a man with a one-track mission because there's those two brain cells have one thing on the brain and it's French door. Carrie's like trying to be intimate, but Aidan, again, he's laser beam on French doors. Give me 5 minutes.
He is on doorsforsale.com.
But Aidan he broke it and he's gonna fix it. Which again, we realize there's probably something simmering under the surface.
Something else is going on.
It's not Wyatt and not in Wyoming. And he does the most triggering thing that he could do to Carrie. She wakes up, she goes to her tiny bathroom. Again, the tiniest bathroom, the tiniest kitchen in this massive pre-war home, and tells her that he's gone to Scranton back later, which seems like a threat from the previous Post-its in this series. And if you don't remember the other Post-it from Burger, season 6,
is.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Don't hate me. I had in my notes of like, are they trolling us with this Post-it? Like, really? Really a Post-it?
Our girls go to Tiffany's, and we find out, so it's been 2 months since the Virginia trip. We get a little bit of context.
I had a question here of whether or not Sarah Jessica Parker had to call Jim Carrey directly to ask for the Cuban Pete hat to wear in the scene. Because that is the Cuban Pete hat from The Mask. And it is on Carrie's head.
I've never seen The Mask.
Wow, I almost just spit take again. I have a very, not confirmed, but a very passionate theory that The Mask is an allegory for alcoholism, but again, similar to Todd.
And also, everyone is wearing a mask on this show.
Yes.
Charlotte looks very cute, but also, I do want to know the process of them renting out Tiffany's for this.
I want to know more, for sure.
Everything's on the edge. I feel like, because we're talking about LTW's dad, everything's fragile. And our girl is back. Bitsy Von Muffling, all in orange. Orange is the new black. Bitsy found her tea time at Tiffany's invite in her spam. Thank God.
Yeah.
Crisis averted. And then we are introduced to Lucille Highwater, the one, the only Jennifer Lewis. And I was so instantly titillated and thrilled at her presence on the screen.
This was a huge value add to put Jennifer Lewis in this show. We were not clear whether or not LTW like grew up in Newark and like this has been like a place she's gone to like since she was younger or like maybe more recently with her father, but like they definitely know her there. She's got a regular order. Yeah.
And clearly Miss Lubell has her feelings about Lucille. Like, as she takes her orders, there's a whole story happening here that I'm like, wow, I would love to see these women, like, on many more episodes of this show.
I know. I'm like, let's just completely digress from the show. I want to hear about these two.
What their beef is. Like, give us a Lucille spin-off at this point. Like, there's clearly a lot here, as we'll see as the episode progresses.
Yes.
And LTW is here to find out why Lucille thought she could be the one to put on this funeral without her input. And it's starting to dig into her a bit that she's like, well, you couldn't, make the time to be by your father's bedside. Don't bother Lisa with this because she's busy. That's what my father said. Don't bother Lisa with this. I was like, this just feels like you're crossing a boundary.
For sure. On the other hand, it did sort of feel like Lisa was starting to realize that, like, maybe there were parts of her father's life that she, like, didn't really engage with or know a whole lot about. So, like, it definitely feels like Lucille is overstepping 100%. But, like, it seems like Lisa's guilt is beyond missing the phone call to, like, go see him at the hospital, and, like, maybe just realizing, like, she didn't spend as much time with her father in Newark recently as she could have. But, like, she also has three kids, and
her husband's running for comptroller, some sort of, so, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't heard about it in about 500 years, but yes, he's running for comptroller.
And she asked for hot sauce, and Lucille is here to remind her, well, her devoted daddy gifted me this bottle of just regular Tabasco hot sauce. Like,
well, no, he gifted her the Michael Kors bag, I believe. Okay. The hot sauce is just in the bag. Listen, I would accept hot sauce as a gift.
Absolutely. I would. Oh, yeah, I love hot sauce. It was just so funny. I was like that we've just made a production out of the Michael Kors bag. And we've now moved to Joy and Miranda, because we're about to meet Brady, and she's let her know that how Miranda feels about dogs is how Joy feels about kids.
I thought this was a really good parallel, because I agree with this take.
Totally. And also, I think, at least for Joy's benefit, Brady's like 18. At least it's not like a child.
I had a moment where I was like, Joy, he's an adult. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
like, relax.
You're coming in after Brady was, like, having sex every 2 seconds. Like, you've actually caught him on the downswing. Yeah.
Yeah. You're catching him at a good time. The rest of us had to see him during an extremely rough period.
Yeah, that no one should have had to witness. And, but this has alluded Miranda to that Joy thinks of her as her girlfriend, and it's just very sweet. I love how this is progressing. Brady shows up and immediately is excited about Sappho and Socrates and says they're the greatest dog names ever. And Joy is off the fence because Brady's a dog person. So everything is working out as it should.
Things are going smoothly for Miranda Hobbs for once.
Finally, gave our girl a bone, and she got one finally. Well, not a bone, but, you know.
No, a bone that she can give to Sappho and Socrates.
Yeah, exactly. And we're back to the diner. We're arguing about the funeral. She wants nothing too theatrical. And she was like, well, you know, I planned everything because you were too busy to come say goodbye to her dad on the last day of his life. Which is a hell of a statement to make to someone that's probably 48 hours into grieving the loss of their parent.
She's making it seem like Lisa had no relationship with her father, which I feel like is not true. Putting your phone on silent mode and having something like that happen is, like, my greatest fear. A lot of people's greatest fears of, like, part of the reason I don't, like, put my phone on silent mode is because I'm like, well, what if something happens? So, like, to say that to somebody that this just happened to is, like, very out of pocket.
100%. And it's just, you know, the wounds are so raw. Like, nothing is even close to starting to heal. And she tells her, but, you know, all she has is the theater. Her dad is gone. All she has is the theater. We've met this woman. We've worked with this woman. I've had nightmares about this woman.
Yes.
And I can only tell you where this goes. And it's going to be LTW in a production of Chicago with 4 puppets. It's...
I have worked for a number of people who thought that the sun rise and set around whether or not you could get enough people to subscribe to your season of theatrical programming, and it's just it took years off my life, and I'll never go back.
And they'll never come back. And she digs it in further to guilt her because it's the memory of a man she spent the best part of her life with, which, again, unclear. Did she just work with him? Did they sleep together? Like, we're never gonna know what actually this relationship was about. Carrie comes home, and Aidan is surrounded by doors, so many of them. And
this fucking man, I can't stand him.
Like, go to therapy, Aidan. Like, just stop putting this on us.
I had the same thought. I was like, this is a man who's never been to therapy, so he needs to drive his ass to Scranton to get doors. Like, get out of here.
You know, he realized, like, none of these doors are just right. They ruined it. We're like, what is happening here? And we find out what actually happened. He slept with Kathy. After they fought about how they ruined Wyatt, they slept with Kathy. He was like, it was a mistake. It's never going to happen again. They both said so. Now, here is where my issues lie. Carrie says, I kind of understand. Mm-hmm. Now, this is another 3-letter word I feel like we're avoiding. And especially this season, watching a lot of the press interviews, it feels like they're trying to treat this season like a full reboot of And Just Like That. Like, nothing else happened. And we're avoiding a 3-letter word that I think should be very present in this conversation and much else in the show. And that's big.
Yeah, great point. It's like he never existed.
It's like he never existed because where did we have this conversation before?
Oh, God, yeah. Yep. You don't just get over grieving that kind of loss that quickly.
They were married for like a decade, probably. Like,
yeah.
It's just very strange, and also, like, this could be a nice point to reference that fight, because this was such a huge thing, because Aidan held it against Carrie forever.
Yes.
And we're just sort of, like, accepting it. And maybe that's, like, Carrie's being mature. I don't know. It's just very weird that we wouldn't even bring up Big in this sort of moment. She's shocked. We've not had this discussion. And Aidan is, like, gobsmacked by the fact that, like, she would that now it's come to his brain, oh, what if Carrie sleeps with someone else? He just kind of assumed she was like his little caged bird that was always just going to be waiting for him. And here we see the literal doors surrounding in the room.
Yeah. Pretty heavy on the metaphor, and just like that. Which door are we gonna go through?
In door number 1, we have a man with baggage and children. Door number 2, you got mutton stew.
Door number 3 is Adam the gardener just sort of pushing dirt around with a shovel.
And his nephew is just waving behind him.
Yeah. Just happily waving. They're still there. They've been working on this garden for 2 months.
Just pushing dirt around.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
And our girl always in a bra. Having sex, coital, she's in a bra. Never gonna see a bra.
Yeah. If sex is happening, then Carrie's got her bra on.
And then...
Oh, yeah.
LTW looking very Jackie. Just like this image was very poignant, I thought, to me. And then we see her in the theater, and this felt like very Don't Rain on My Parade, even though I know it's a very somber moment, but very like, she's looking on this wild lighting on the urn of her father, but like, you know, it seems like relatively very respectful and better than like what we would have thought would have happened. And Lucille tells her, you are second to last and you get 3 minutes. Which I have to say, when my mom's funeral and I gave the eulogy, I got there and my uncle was on their eulogy, like on the program instead of my name, and I had a similar freak out to where I was like, wait, how am I not on here? I've been like working on this all night. And then luckily we sort of like talked, we were just like, well, we're just gonna say like I'm going up to the podium instead of that, because it was, you know, it was also like 100 degrees outside. I was accidentally wearing a long sleeve sweater dress and my best friend let me, and I thought I was going to pass out and the AC wasn't working. Things you can laugh about, like, in hindsight, which is I hope LGW gets a big laugh out of this later. And Aidan walks up, like, he's wearing a suit from when he was 15. It's, like, up to his knees.
I don't know who is making these decisions, as if every single scene of Aidan isn't, like, the ickiest ick of all icks. And then, of course, Carrie mentions that the big and tall store that used to be somewhere is not there anymore. And I'm like, bitch, Google Maps. What is wrong with you? Why is Aidan looking at doors.com? Why don't you, like, look up to see whether the big and tall store is actually still there? Like, these people aren't using the internet functionally.
No. And also, Carrie, you are a fashion icon, and this is how you're letting your man go out in public. Like, that's actually, like, if I were Aidan in this instance, I'd be like, you let me go out in public like this? Like, I would be embarrassed.
Keep him at home.
But Miranda has decided to, you know, give into her principles because she's so happy with Joy. She's going to give over $150 and get the apartment that Seema showed her. And we get the happy ending. Thrilled about this. Excited to see where the apartment is going to go. Thrilled to no longer see Miranda in an Airbnb. Again, would love to see Steve. I hope in the back half.
Is he?
Where is Steve?
Miranda, I love your new apartment, Miranda. Bought you a set of Tupperware for your housewarming.
I brought you a French press. And Aidan sits down and he splits his pants.
I hate this man. I know it's not anyone's fault when they split their pants, but I fucking hate this man.
Like, everything has to become about Aidan. It's always, like, it comes back to about, maybe that's a good balance to Carrie, because everything is about Carrie, but it's...
Yeah.
It's too much.
I mean, they both suck and shouldn't be together.
Yeah. And we are brought to the Pippin-themed funeral.
This was insane. Like, magic to do starting. I don't know. I felt like I was lit up from within. I was like Jennifer Lewis looking like she was dressed by one of the queens from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Totally.
Singing Magic to Do. That being said, it's like feels completely inappropriate given the setting and the context.
And of course, Herbert's mom has beef with Lucille, says she is styled by Liberace. And it's time for LTW to speak and is very emotional and has Herbert go up on stage with her, which totally understandable, like, very emotional. Because it doesn't feel like she's had any time to process any of this herself, to like the way that she's kind of been thrown into the deep end with all of this, with someone else thrusting a funeral upon her, and
it's a funeral that's also like a theater variety show that like was very unexpected.
I thought this was just like a very funny, because she's like, oh, it seems my father was always there, and some random person in the crowd says he was always there for us.
I know that. That to me just speaks to bad writing, because like that is somebody sitting down writing this episode and being like, we need a way to segue Lisa into talking about the fact that her father was always there, but she wasn't there at the moment that he died. And so they're like, have somebody from the crowd shout it out. And it's like, what? And
this is where she starts to break down. He left like before I got there, and Herbert steps in very sweetly as her right-hand man.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Christopher Jackson, George Washington.
There it is.
And helps her finish the speech, which is like just very lovely. I liked this moment because they've been having so much like contention, I think, like with their schedules. So it was like a nice moment of the two of them coming together.
For sure. And like also shows like what an excellent politician and public speaker.
Maybe he should be comptroller, you know?
Yeah.
And then I really loved this moment with his
was
mom.
really sweet.
This was like, because she's always so hard on LTW.
Yes.
And just having this lovely moment with her saying like, you know, it's okay you weren't there because their spirit didn't want you there. And then gives her this handkerchief. And it was just, I really loved it. This is, I think from this to the end of the episode, I was just like sobbing.
Yeah, no, this made me emotional as well, because like, yeah, like you said, like she's always been so mean to her. And in that moment with like LTW having so much grief already about her father dying, but guilt about the fact that she wasn't there, which, by the way, like, I don't know how long her phone was on silent. I have to imagine, like, this all happened very quickly regardless, so there was no guarantee that even if her phone hadn't been on silent that she would have gotten there in time. But in that moment when you're feeling that much guilt, like, having someone say something like this to you of, like, it's not only okay that you weren't there, like, it may have, like, spiritually had, like, a good reason for you not to be there is, like, it's just very comforting. And I thought this was really sweet.
It was, like, exactly what she needed to hear in that minute.
Yes.
I think to, like, for that guilt to be absolved of her a little bit. And then, unfortunately, Aidan is standing up worried that his junk is about to fall. Enough.
These two were disrespectful as fuck during this funeral.
Yeah.
They were giggling at the beginning when he ripped his pants. They were hamming it up at the end. This is a funeral. Like, stay home or behave yourselves. I hate them.
I know. I'd rather, like, stay home and have sex, like, instead of being at this like, I just... Stop bringing this clownery to the funeral. It's just enough. And then we're back to the exposition. Aidan's leaving. This never-ending exposition. And tells him, you're home. I keep thinking, they keep teasing that they are going to break up.
I know, and then they fucking won't do it.
Listen to the people sing. Do you hear the people sing? Do you hear the people yelling for these two to not be together? Because, this is terrible.
Aidan is the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton that has not been to therapy. I need him gone. Like, Halloween is over. I need him gone. We're not going to dress the Home Depot skeleton up for Christmas because we don't feel like taking him out of the front yard.
Or Easter.
Like, take him, disassemble him, and put him in storage. Like, he's bad.
We're enough of him. And then we go to the kitchen, and Duncan has come up the stairs, and the two the two foes meet. Duncan Donuts and Aidan meet for the first time. And he's brought the pages for Carrie, and Aidan says, "Oh, I'll make sure she gets it." And clearly, Aidan, I feel like, feels like he's only at his best when he's, like, fighting for her against another man. Like, when he's, like, fighting for his homestead. Like, he can't ever just be at nothing. It's like he has to be fighting.
Because he's fucking toxic. He's got this, like, weird, like, I'm like a rugged man who rescues women thing going on. What I also clocked here is I was like, this is how you know everybody's at least a little bit gay, because Aidan, like, clocks that Duncan's hot. Like, he's Duncan is an attractive man. You know. That's potentially a problem.
You know, we could have a challengers moment. Invite Duncan upstairs.
I would listen, I would like a threesome of people more than I enjoyed that threesome of doors from Scranton, so sure.
And this wild shot of Carrie, like, finding the pages on their love table. And, like, it's the only thing on the table is this small paperclip together chapter about Margaret Thatcher, and this shot was, like, so crazy.
I know, it was. Also, my friend Charlie made the point to me, because he is a writer, he was like, nobody prints out their stuff.
Yeah, you would just send it in a PDF.
Send an email. What are you doing? He has a printer down there? He's making stew and he's got a printer? Like,
I know. Something's off. And Carrie's in Walgreens, and she runs into Charlotte, who's in the male depends section, and can't, hide behind it. This was, like, the scene of the episode for me.
Yes,
like, it really
100%.
was, like, truly everything. She tells Carrie Harry has prostate cancer. Oh, no, I'm gonna cry! Because it's I'll not tell us, I promise I'm your fault. And it's just, like, it reminded me, like, of our friendship, and it's just, like,
stop! Like... Caroline, we can't do this every episode. People are going to be like, this is supposed to be funny, and these bitches cry every single episode about how much they love each other and how special their friendship is.
I'm sorry.
But it's true.
You should be so lucky.
You should be so lucky. You should.
But it was just so, come on. This was like, everything was just like when
it broke me.
Yeah.
It really broke me. And proof positive, as we say almost every episode, the real love story in the entire Sex and the City cinematic universe is between the women and the friendships that they have, because Carrie has been dealing with Aidan's dumbass the whole episode. Charlotte has been at a breaking point since Harry got his diagnosis, and the two of them just sort of melting into each other and supporting each other. Like, there is nothing like the release of, like, when you're teetering on the edge and then someone, like, sees you teetering on the edge and you can't hide it anymore and you just fall apart. Like, it's one of the, like, worst, best feelings in the world, if you kind of catch my drift.
And see, this is why Carrie always gets me again, because it shows, like, she is there, like, just knows how to show up for Charlotte, and, like, that she just has to be there for her.
For sure. Absolutely. Like, she handled this very well for someone who tends to not handle anything
well ever. But I don't know, for as many problems as I had with the episode, this was like a beautiful way for everything to wrap up. I don't know, did you have any other thoughts on the episode?
I guess in general, the problems that I'm having are like, I don't know how you're trying to make me feel, because overall the show is kind of a romantic comedy, but you keep adding these dark things in here, which, like, I get that these people are in their 50s and, like, dark shit starts to ramp up the older you get. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know how they want us to feel. I'm very confused.
Totally. It is very all over the place. We need a lighter episode next week. We want a whole Lucille High Water series. Like, if there's anything that we've gotten from this week, I need more Lucille.
I would welcome a spin-off of Lucille.
This has been another week of And Just Like Yap. I'm curious to see what happens next week. I saw Patti LuPone will be making her grand appearance, and that's gonna be interesting.
She's a divisive figure, right?
A divisive figure right now, so I'm curious to see what she does to the And Just Like That universe, but
as am I.
I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Yep, we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!